What is up, everybody? This is going to be an interesting video. Quite a few lessons here. I thought I'd share it because this is just a very unique opportunity to learn something. See this massive dump here? I attempted to get in. Not only did I attempt to get in it, I didn't get filled. I got bumped up to 22 in the queue. I just needed 46 more contracts to come in. I would have been filled on it. The thing is, I knew at this point in time there might be a high probability of a massive dump. Now, what we're going to do is review the footage where I call this out. Now, when it dumps down, I miss the fucking trade, and it just keeps running. I get tilted because that was the biggest trade of the year. That could have yielded me 8 to 9 grand on one trade. I've yet to have a $10,000 session this year. I don't think I've had one since last October. It's currently March. So, while my trading psychology is pretty solid, just missing a huge, very huge trade like that, just narrowly missing it, where I'm so close to getting filled on it, and it goes, that's something that I haven't really experienced, and I recommend this video. I talk about how every trade has some sort of emotion attached to it, and I've not seen this. I meditated, like I walked away, like I had to walk away when it dumped, because if I had sat here, I would have, I'm already tilted. I'm gonna probably start to make aggressive trades, and I'm like really calm, and it just, seeing myself get so far in the queue and it just pukes all those points, and I'm just narrowly missed it, is it's not even that I missed it, like I was getting filled and it didn't happen. So you're gonna see the footage. I had to walk away. I meditated, and I just want to highlight what this video says. I mean, even I get upset at times when I experience a trade situation with something that I've never seen or experienced before. And this would be it. Also, another big lesson from this. These are some comments that were coming through when it happened. What the fuck was that? Wow. One and only trade for the day for me. Was there news? So somebody's asking, was there news? Damn. Was thinking something happened. Any news? Was stop with 2 long positions. Almost at the same time, volatility suddenly changed. So these are several people talking to each other, trying to figure out what happened. And the thing is, if you understand auction market theory, like really understand it and understand how the price action operates, and if you consume a lot of my videos and you're attempting to see this from my perspective, that shouldn't be a surprise, and you're going to hear me call out this huge potential dump in the recording before it fucking happens, and it shouldn't be a surprise. And a lot of times you're going to have big moves like that, and it has nothing to do with news. And time again, I've seen retail traders think it's some sort of news. What happened? What happened? Is there news? No, it's not. If you can understand the price action, if you can really understand how this shit fucking works, how it moves, how it ebbs and flows, how it pukes stuff like this, then you shouldn't be surprised by these things. So that's another big lesson here, is it's just that happens because that's part of the auction process. Now here's the trades from that actual session. You know, we did okay. I went, took a shit, came back, stocked this next setup, and missed it, got tilted, just had to leave. Did I miss other opportunities in the session? I did. I needed to go meditate, and I think a great takeaway here is just like knowing how to walk and how to have the discipline. Now, you can't just willpower your way through that. I've meditated a lot on identifying surfacing emotions and just practiced a lot of just leaving when I can tell things aren't right, because when things aren't right, there's really no fixing it in the moment. It's already too late. So the best thing to do is leave. Now, doing a bunch of stuff outside of trading and fixing the psychology, the emotions, and being extraordinarily prepared going into the session, that's where the magic is. Once the pendulum swings too far to one end, in my opinion, there's really no coming back from that emotionally. You got to get out. Now, again, just getting out isn't that easy if you've not practiced it or visualized it. I just know what would have happened if I stayed in, because I've been fucked many times by staying in, because I just instantly lost it. As soon as that thing kept ripping and ripping, I knew where the potential target was. You're going to see all this in the footage. If you want to see these narrations, you can join the coffee. It is a great way to learn how I read this price action and how I see these things. Over 100 episodes of narrations now, several hundreds of trades, 130 something hours of footage. I mean, there's more than that. There's case studies, daily report cards. So if you want to learn price action or just understand it better, it's a great place to come learn. Is it going to give you edge? No, not necessarily, because that's on you. You have to practice and stuff. However, what it can do for you is clarify the price action, so you just understand what it's doing, why it's doing it, and what may happen. And when you have more information and more clarity, you can make better decisions. Ultimately, edge is going to come down to you mastering your psychology and you just having a shitload of experience. So we're going to watch the footage. Now, I just want you to know that I will be pausing it. So when I pause it, I'll be on the screen. I'm going to kind of just narrate bits and pieces. And then when I'm not on the screen, the sound of my voice you're hearing when I'm not on the screen is from the recording. And when I pause the video, I'll pop up, and the sound of my voice when I'm popped up is me talking about it after the fact. So you're going to hear sort of after the fact and during the moment of the trade.
NQ here. Still on that mid leg. They're not dumping it. I still think they're going to potentially rotate that.
Okay, so you hear me say, I think they could potentially dump this. This is what you're seeing on the right, and I can't highlight it because of how things are set up. But looking at the chart on the right, it legs down, and then you can see where the current price action is, and then below it, it dumps in hard. So there's two legs on the down move on the chart on the right, which is an NQ 10-minute. So it's in between leg 1 and leg 2. So a two-legged dump doesn't happen as often as a one-legged dump. And the same would go for a three-legged dump and a four-legged dump. When you see a dump, it pauses, and then another dump. The more it does that, the less probable that is. So this is a two-legged dump. So in my reclaim slip video, which I can't recommend enough, you need to go check out to understand what's happening here, because that is price action that I preach to understand these things. That second leg is a huge dump, and they're reclaiming it. Again, that video talks more about it. So we're kind of on the midpoint between the two legs. So based off this 10-minute chart on the right, NASDAQ, You heard me in the footage talk about it pivoting and dumping in or rolling back in. I'm looking at this higher time frame that they could potentially roll it here, and also look at where the price action is on the far right. You can see that last V shape. Again, I can't highlight it. That's kind of reclaiming on the downside, so they could jam through that on the downside real hard. And if you look right above my head, this is ES 30-second. If you look at the profile, it's pink right here. So there's an unusual amount of absorption in such a small amount of time. Currently, we're seeing this big bid offer coming in quite often. It almost looks like market manipulation. There seems to be a new player in town, but I don't think it's market manipulation. I think it's just a market maker just providing huge amounts of liquidity due to the fact that our markets don't have the liquidity it once did. So we're seeing a lot of artificial volume spikes, which is going to fuck up a lot of technical indicators. I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole right now. That doesn't matter. I'm just kind of opening that door just a little bit because some of you who look at a DOM might be seeing that. So, but the fact of the matter is there is reloading up there, and whatever this guy's doing with the big bid and offer and trading into himself, if you don't know what I'm saying, it's really not that important. For those of you who've seen it, this guy's trading into himself. I mean, again, it could be a market maker collecting rebates. Somebody's stepping up to it to help larger traders out. But in reality, the market's not like really reacting to it. What they're doing, in my opinion, doesn't really fucking matter. But what does matter is when the market does get stuck in an area and starts to reload a lot, which it does, and then it creates a very tight bell curve there, a point of control, and it does it in such a short amount of time. If you notice the 30-second price action up there, it doesn't really spend much time up there to create that sort of curve. If I see a lot of reloading at the top of a range and it's real tight and it's just unusual amounts of reloading, that can also be a telltale sign of a down move. The NQ 10-minute over here on the right of your screen, mid pivoting right there, that's the big one for me. It's got kind of a slip reclaim thing going on below it, so they could start slipping through that section. The video I showed you will talk more about slips and reclaims. So I'm really starting to see that there potentially could be a trade here. Now, if you look right here, this range right here between these two red lines on the ES 30-second, it's a kind of a three-legged range, kind of the way it waves. There is a mid pivot. Fuck, I can't do this very well. Right there. So they mid pivot that range. So it's kind of a three-legged range. They mid pivot, they blow it out. And then it keeps walking up, which it kind of does this channel thing. You can see better on a 3-second chart. They're forcing stops to the long side. So I'm looking for some sort of three-legged micro ranging where it is now in the 32s to potentially get short into this trade. I'm still sort of stalking it. I know it smells like it could be there. Again, a hard right side of, like the hard right edge. We really, I'm not really sure, but I'm smelling something. Okay. Now, when exactly is it going to go? I don't know, but I'm stalking and smelling it. And is it going to blow out the way it is, or is it going to walk down? I don't know, but I know that this could potentially happen. Now, listen carefully to the footage. Oh, and by the way, the footage may be kind of chopping. For some reason, when I recorded it, the audio starts cutting out a little bit. So just bear with it.
Up to those highs where I think there could be a breakout of 78 evens. I wouldn't take a breakout
This is Russell, by the way.
Trade there because I'm not quite certain if ES is going to sync up with it.
So you can see that there's going to be this big offer pumping up and down on ES, the middle DOM 3250s. That's what I was talking about earlier. Now let's listen to what I was saying. I'm going to briefly just rewind it a hair. There's going to be moments of being quiet because I'm hunting, so just bear with it. This is unlike the normal videos, but I figured I'd share this with you guys.
Potentially push, they don't sync up, and then Russell sort of top tick and cascade in. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure we could see a huge down move. Gotta look at the full extent of the 30-second.
Okay, so I'm saying I'd like to see and what I'm talking about is Russell right here. See how it's ranging up here? What I want to see is Russell hit these top pivots, and I want to see Russell puke. And there's something, if you've watched the Russell correlation video, I don't talk about it in that, but there's another phenomenon that does happen. Like Russell will move up, ES doesn't move, and then Russell will rotate on a downstroke, and then ES kind of moves with it tick for tick, and then Russell might move up. ES doesn't move with it that much. Then Russell will rotate on a down tick, and they'll kind of go together. That's a sign of a directional play. Like my last trade you saw on that P&L, that was really good from earlier in the video. ES was going up with Russell, and this was near the highs before the pullback. Let me show you. So before this pullback right here, Russell and ES were going up at the same time, kind of tick for tick. It really wanted to move with Russell when Russell moved up, and then when Russell would downstroke, ES didn't want to move. So I know they're syncing up on upstrokes together. And then all of a sudden they get up there, and then Russell starts to hit stop out areas where it's running higher, and ES is no longer following suit. So when you're looking at this, I'm kind of attempting at first to buy into that section, and then it's just not working for me. And then I start to realize what's happening up there. And then I start to realize that ES is wanting to agree with Russell on a downstroke. So all of a sudden there's a quick sentiment shift. And now ES is confirming it doesn't want to work with Russell on the upside. NQ and ES obviously move together. So when I say ES, it could mean NQ too. So they're starting to want to move with Russell on a downstroke. So I watch Russell on its auction process to look for the downstroke, which again, the coffee narration will show more of that. They start to agree on downstroking, and you know, my last trade that's really good in that P&L I showed you was because I just timed it with a Russell downstroke on a bigger move, trying to get the correlated shit to go on. So going back to what I'm saying in this specific footage, I want to see Russell break and stop run up, and I want to see ES not agree with it on that move. I want to see ES get stuck and not go up when Russell blows out. And this is kind of the top of a range, and I want to see Russell potentially top tick and then start to cascade in a bit, and I want to see ES start to agree with those downstrokes. However, Russell, in my opinion, needs to kind of push up higher. It's not really done with the auction process of blowing out these highs. I think they need to hit 78s and stop run up before I can get short.
I think could be a breakout of 78 evens. I wouldn't take a breakout trade there because I'm not quite certain if ES is going to sync up with it. Potentially push, they don't sync. up and then Russell sort of top tick and cascade in. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure we could see a huge down move.
There was, folks, you heard me say I think we could potentially see a huge down move. So when you see things like this, was there news? No. Based off the things I'm telling you. So just saying, and I'll show you guys that part again.
Potentially push, they don't sink up and then Russell sort of top tick and cascade in. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure we could see a huge down move. Got to look at the full extent of the 30-second on ES. So if we look at ES, it opened at 8:30 and it had kind of did a V move. Where's the open? It took about an hour and a half to reach the open again. So this to me is not quite a trend day because it did jam back down. I mean, it jammed down for quite some time before it came back up. So I do see this potentially turning into a bigger range overall.
So if you notice that, I say this could potentially turn into a bigger range overall. ES is at the top right there. And since it took like an hour and a half to like see the high again, that to me is a sign of a potential range and there could be a dump. Now what you're going to see me, and that's me kind of like looking at ES, and then I have this thing going on the NQ 10 minute with that mid pivot. So now I'm starting to really smell this thing out of how big of a dump this could be. Already called it out, you saw. And now I'm really starting to see it in ES potentially setting up here. Now what you're going to see me do is put on a Fibonacci tool, and I'm going to measure, and I'm going to say a price. Now, I don't say this is going to be my target when I get in it. You just hear me call out the price on the Fibonacci tool. This would have been the target had I got into this trade, and I know it would have been. So it would be the midpoint from the low of the session to where we're kind of at the high, and it might be 15, 16s. I'm not sure. We got to watch the footage, but you're going to hear me call out a price somewhere in that 15, 16, 17 range. That would have been the target if I had got filled on the trade, because it's a midpoint of this massive range. So that right there would be the price, 16s. That's basically where the target would be. So there's times where I'm narrating this stuff and I'm not divulging the kind of technicalities. You hear me doing it after the fact. That's because I've got to think, and I am hunting. I am in my head. So like just being able to like trade and divulge a tremendous amount of information could be very difficult at times. But either way, I am hunting this. And there's other parts of this video you're not seeing as well, where I start to kind of see what might be happening. Anyways, let's continue to go.
Sort of two-legging.
So what's happening here is I'm talking about two-legging. You can't really see the ES at the top of the range or the NQ. It's pretty hard to see. Russell's not currently, it's right here. Russell's not pushing up as high as I would want. However, I'm starting to see a two-leg micro range, which I can see on the 3-second, which if you look right, well, you can see this, like, my charts are covering the auction vista. Look to the left of the most left DOM. You can see this random red bar in a blue horizontal box. That's the auction vista. And when I record this, I'm recording 3 different screens that are picture in picture, and they're all overlaid in this specific scene. when you see the charts shifting and changing, what I'm doing is I'm editing on a Stream Deck for my coffee subscribers. However, these 3 monitors are stagnant, and I've got it to where I have this muscle memory of whatever chart I'm looking at, I'm clicking the keys, so that way my coffee subscribers can better see what it is I'm looking at in the moment. Now, it's not 100%. However, that's just something I do for the coffee subscribers, and now it's a muscle memory, if you will. So I'm kind of like at this point, the reason it's all 3 charts is because I want the coffee subscribers to kind of be paying attention to everything. However, I am peering at the Auction Vista at times, which I can see. You guys can't see in the recording, so I know there's a micro range here. And again, I can't really edit on the fly every little thing I'm looking at. I try to do my best. But there's a 2-legged range. Now, the thing about there's a difference between a 3-leg and a 2-leg. I talk a lot about it in the coffee, and you got to be careful with 2 legs. I made a hypnosis track on this shit because I forget, a few Fridays ago or Friday ago or something, we had problems. Yeah, it was last Friday from the recording of this video. And I did a DRC episode on the coffee, and I recorded a hypnosis track, which the coffee people got to see. And I had been talking about 2 legs, 3-leg ranges. It might have been actually a few hypnosis tracks ago, so not to add confusion here, I can't remember. Either way, I have a hypnosis track that I had, might have been 1 or 2 hypnosis tracks ago, now that I think about it, where I talk about where I can't hit 2-leg ranges, because like I started being aggressive on 2-leg ranges, but the thing about a 2-leg micro range or bigger range is they may 2-leg and then blow out and not come back in, and I want to more so be fading on a 3-leg range, so I don't really want to be fading a 2-leg range. And that goes for any type of range, really, for the most part, a bigger one or a micro. In this case, I'm using a micro. So remember how earlier in the session I pointed out ES had, and you can see it up there in the red, way up there in the 2 red horizontal lines, that ES chart in the top left. Remember I pointed out to you it was kind of a 3-leg range and it mid-pivoted and it's blowing up? Well, right now it's starting to micro range and it's putting in a 2-leg. And what I don't say in this footage is, because I'm about to get into this thing, what I don't say is there's a 2-leg here. Now, I mentioned there's a 2-leg in the footage, which you just heard, but what I don't mention is if this thing 2 legs, they're going to push back into that 3-leg that's right below us between those red horizontal bars you can see way up in the top left. That's a 3-leg range. It's a medium size. It's racked up on the curve, meaning it's like that range is kind of flush with the curve, and it had mid-pivoted, and there's a good chance it may not mid-pivot. So that's giving an extra layer of confirmation that this big down move could be on. And if this thing's going to 2-leg, and it's really truly going to 2-leg out, I got to be careful, but it could start flushing very soon. Now you can also see NQ on the right with those yellow horizontal bars. That also put in a 3-leg. You can see, let me try zooming in real quick. So right here on the NQ, you can see this, these 2 yellow bars. That's the same range that's going on ES that I'm talking about. This is NASDAQ 30-second. You can see above there's 3 yellow kind of like slashes. That's measuring leg 1, leg 2, leg 3. And range legs, I say legs, not to be misconstrued with like a reclaim puke leg. So I'm using legs interchangeably. It's meaning 2 different things in my trading, not to confuse you. So on a range, it's legged up 3 times. And then you can see between those 2 longer horizontal bars, there's a 45-degree slanting bar like this in the middle, about that angle. That's representing the mid pivot, the same one that's on the ES. NQ and ES are moving. This is like a medium-sized range, and because of the mid pivot, again, I think we could flush through that. Now, where we're at currently, where the price is currently, where you're seeing it at the 58s or whatever price that is, it's kind of blurry on my end too. There's a micro range up there you can't really see. It's more seen on the 3-second auction vista. It's two-legging, so because it's two-legging up there, I think they could puke it and run this bigger range that I have already marked out. So starting to hunt this thing.
Blowing out that second leg.
So you hear me say they're blowing out that second leg. So I'm referring to this micro range where we're coming from, which can't really be seen. It's on the auction vista. Russell's not doing what I would think. However, it seems to me the move's on. We're going to come through. So right here, I'm starting to get into a queue for a short because, again, they're blowing out that two-leg up there. And if a two-leg blows out, it could continue to run. That's why I don't like to trade two-leg ranges, because it may not be a range. It could just kind of do this dip. And until I get a third leg, I don't really want to fade it. But since a two-legger is blowing out down, it's probably going to go into this three-legger below us. And that already has a mid-pivot, so they're probably going to sweep it, and the bigger move might be on. So now I'm starting to queue up on the fucking thing. So unfortunately, you can't really see what's happening here. I'll zoom in. So on 29.75, there's kind of a white box, and it's sort of highlighted. I queued up 12 lots on the 29.75 on the red box with the 74. So I'm putting in limit orders, but when I put in 12 lots, I do cut it up. So I feed it in chunks. I don't want to just put it all on at once. So I do cut it up when I start going in. So I rapidly start clicking on it, feeding in smaller chunks to get filled. So we are currently queued on that 29.75 for the short. And I'm going to leave it zoomed in right here. So you start to see the market orders in the center of the DOM get rapidly cleared. They're not filling me at this point. And I start to rapidly manually clear those market orders to see how fast they're feeding. That's another video for another day, why I do that. I do have a video called Strike Zoning that may or may not talk about that method. Either way, that's a good video on how DOMs should be set up. I'm going to rewind this a little bit. So we're queued up.
This market fucking sucks. I can't even get filled, man. I shouldn't be complaining. I tried to get filled on 29.75. They put me 22Q and it just didn't give it to me. I mean, fuck, come on. Alright, see, that right there just really fucking tilts the fuck out of me. I got 22Q on that. Oh, fuck, right there. And just seeing that. Alright, that's probably, I'm fucking done. I'm not gonna sit here after that. That fucking just watching that and being bumped 22Q on a fucking. Oh, all right. I gotta call it quits. I'm not gonna.
And as you can see, it hits the 16 target, which like that would have been just over 8 grand, 8,250, biggest trade of the fucking year. And it's jamming through 16s relatively quickly, so I may have held it. But this does go to show you that this is, I mean, a lot of retail traders are understanding this price action, and I showed you that conversation from today with some retail traders that think it's news. I see that all the time. If you really understand auction market theory and price action, especially on these smaller time frames, how this all ebbs and flows, it takes time. It's a skill set. It takes a long time to cultivate that skill. This is why I have the coffee to just continuously show that stuff. And again, it takes time. And when you're able to start to see that, it creates clarity in your trading. Is that a skill set that's going to give you edge while executing in the mental framework is a whole nother thing that you have to work on. It's not necessarily going to give you edge, but it is information that will should clarify the price action up, because I think a lot of traders really don't understand price action, what's going on. So I had to walk away just due to the circumstances of that trade. I don't ever get like that, and because of what happened there, just like this video, certain trades have certain emotions, and that right there, just narrowly missing it and it just instantly working out, was painful to watch. I've missed plenty of trades and it not felt like that, but this one I knew potentially could have been one of the biggest trades. I was hunting it, I was on top of it, and we just narrowly missed it. So I hope you guys learned a lesson from that video, and I will see you